The flight attendant saw her childhood photo in the Millionaire's hand during a flight and froze. The sunset painted the clouds in brilliant oranges and pinks outside the oval windows of Flight 847. Emily Dawson straightened her navy blue uniform and tucked a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear as she pushed the beverage cart down the aisle of first class. After 5 years as a flight attendant, the routine had become second nature. Smile, serve, move on. The faces blurred together in an endless parade of travelers, each with their own destinations, but none that ever seemed to include her. "Would you care for something to drink?" "Sir," she asked the distinguished-looking man in seat 3A. He glanced up from the stack of papers on his tray table, his steel gray eyes sharp behind designer glasses. "Sparkling water, please, no ice." Emily nodded and reached for a bottle when something on the man's table caught her eye. A photograph. Slightly worn at the edges, her hand froze midair. A little girl with unruly braids and a white dress stood in front of a garden of daisies, her smile missing a front tooth. The sun cast a golden glow around her like a halo. Emily's throat constricted. The world around her, the hum of the engines, the murmur of passengers, even the turbulence announcement from the cockpit, all faded to a distant buzz. She knew that garden. She knew that dress. She knew that smile. That little girl was her. "Miss, is everything all right?" The passenger's voice snapped her back to reality. "I'm sorry," she stammered, quickly pouring the sparkling water with trembling hands. "It's just that photograph." The man glanced down at the picture, then back at Emily, studying her face with new interest. "You recognize it?" "I think that's me," she whispered, so quietly that only he could hear. "But that's impossible. All my childhood photos were destroyed in a fire 20 years ago." The passenger's expression shifted, a mix of surprise and something else. Relief. "My name is Daniel Hayes," he said, offering his hand. "And I think we have a lot to talk about, Miss Dawson." Emily felt the eyes of other passengers on her. "I'll be back when we land," she managed to say, before continuing down the aisle, her mind reeling for the remainder of the flight. Emily moved on autopilot, smiling and serving while her thoughts spun wildly. That photograph had haunted her dreams for years. The last happy day before the fire that had taken everything. The fire that had killed her mother and left her with nothing but nightmares of smoke and fragments of a lullaby she could never quite remember. After the emergency services had pulled her from the burning house, she'd awakened in a hospital with no identification. No one had come looking for her. Her father, Richard Carter, a textile industry mogul, had never returned for his daughter, at least. That's what she had believed for 20 years, when the plane touched down in Chicago. Emily waited until the other passengers had disembarked before approaching seat 3A again. Daniel Hayes was still there, as if he'd been expecting her. "How do you have this?" she demanded, pointing to the photograph he'd carefully placed back into a leather portfolio. "I've been looking for you for a very long time, Emily," he replied, his voice steady. "May I buy you a coffee? What I have to tell you shouldn't be discussed in an airplane aisle." 30 minutes later, they sat in a quiet corner of an airport cafe, 2 untouched cups of coffee between them. Emily had changed out of her uniform into jeans and a simple blouse, her ID badge tucked away but her guard still firmly up. "I'm an attorney specializing in estate law," Daniel explained, opening his briefcase. 6 months ago, Richard Carter died of heart failure." Emily flinched at the name. "My supposed father who never came looking for me." Daniel's expression softened. "That's what you were led to believe, Emily. That's what everyone was led to believe. The truth is much more complicated and disturbing." He slid a yellowed newspaper clipping across the table. The headline read, "Textile mogul loses wife and daughter in tragic house fire." Emily stared at it, her fingers tracing the faded print. "But I survived. I was in the hospital. Nobody claimed me. Because Victor Langford, your father's business partner, went to extraordinary lengths to make sure you stayed lost," Daniel replied, his voice hardening. "He forged death certificates, bribed officials, and built an elaborate lie that everyone, including your devastated father, believed." "Why would he do that?" Emily whispered, though a cold dread was already forming in the pit of her stomach. "Money, power, control." Daniel listed each word like an indictment. "With you out of the picture and your father consumed by grief, Victor slowly took over Carter Textiles. He's been running it for 20 years now, building his empire on a foundation of lies. Emily's hands began to shake. The coffee shop, with its cheerful music and bustling customers, suddenly felt surreal. A bright, normal backdrop to the darkness unraveling before her. "How did you find me?" she asked finally. "Your father never fully believed you were gone. Even as he signed away pieces of his company to Victor, he hired private investigators, including me. Before I became his attorney," Daniel's eyes held genuine emotion now. "He never stopped looking, Emily. But Victor sabotaged every lead, paid off every investigator who got too close. So why are you telling me this now? Why not when he was alive?" Her voice cracked on the last word. Daniel reached into his briefcase again and pulled out an envelope sealed with wax. "Because Richard Carter left a will that can only be executed if his daughter is found alive. He included this letter, to be opened only by you." Emily stared at the envelope, her name written in unfamiliar handwriting across the front. "There's more," Daniel continued. "Before he died, your father discovered evidence suggesting the fire wasn't an accident. He believed Victor arranged it to eliminate you and manipulate the company away from the Carter family." The cafe seemed to tilt sideways. Emily gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. All these years, she'd believed she was unwanted, abandoned. She'd built walls around herself, never staying in one place too long, never letting anyone get close. The idea that her father had been searching for her, that someone had deliberately torn her family apart for profit, it was almost too much to process. "I understand this is overwhelming," Daniel said gently, "but we don't have much time. Victor knows I've been continuing the search. If he discovers I've found you, he'll do everything in his power to discredit you or worse." "How can I be sure you're telling the truth?" Emily asked. Though the photograph had already convinced her more than any document could, Daniel met her gaze steadily. "I can arrange a DNA test. The results would be irrefutable, but ultimately, Emily, I think you already know. Something inside you recognized that photograph immediately, didn't it?" Emily closed her eyes, seeing flashes of the daisy garden, of a woman with a butterfly pendant singing her to sleep, of a tall man lifting her onto his shoulders, fragments of a life stolen from her. "What happens if I am who you think I am?" she asked finally. "Then justice happens," Daniel replied, "and Richard Carter's daughter takes back what was always meant to be hers." Emily took a deep breath and reached for the envelope with her name on it. Her hand hovered over it for a moment before she picked it up, feeling the weight of 2 decades of secrets. "I'm not doing this for money," she said firmly. "I'm doing it for the truth." Daniel nodded, understanding in his eyes. "That's exactly what your father would have said," outside the cafe windows. Chicago's skyline glittered in the falling dusk, unaware that the city's most powerful business empire was about to face a reckoning, and that the lost daughter of Richard Carter had finally come home. Emily stared at the unopened envelope in her apartment that evening, Richard Carter's elegant handwriting spelling out her name across the front. After leaving the airport with Daniel, she had asked for time alone to process everything. Now, sitting cross-legged on her modest couch, she traced the wax seal with her fingertip, but couldn't bring herself to break it. Not yet. She needed to be sure first. Rain tapped against her windows, providing a gentle soundtrack to her tumultuous thoughts. The apartment was small but comfortable, a temporary home like every place she'd lived since aging out of the system. She never hung pictures, never painted walls, never planted roots, because deep down, Emily had always felt like she was waiting for something. Her phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. "Lab appointment confirmed for 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'll pick you up at 8:30. Emily set the envelope on her coffee table and moved to her bedroom. From the back of her closet, she pulled out an old shoebox, the only collection of personal history she possessed. Inside lay a small hospital bracelet labeled Jane Doe, a yellowed newspaper article about the fire, and a notebook filled with fragmented childhood memories she'd tried to piece together over the years. A knock at her door startled her. Through the peephole, she saw Daniel, rain-spattered and apologetic. "Sorry," he said when she opened the door. "I know you wanted space, but there's something you should see." She let him in, watching as he pulled out a tablet and opened a digital file labeled Carter Industries Portfolio. "Your father built Carter Textiles from the ground up," Daniel explained. Scrolling through images of factories, corporate offices, and newspaper headlines about Richard Carter's business triumphs. Started with one small factory in Chicago, expanded to become one of the largest textile manufacturers in the Midwest, Emily studied a photograph of a tall, broad-shouldered man with kind eyes cutting a ribbon at a factory opening. Something about the crinkles around his eyes when he smiled tugged at her memory. This was taken 3 years before the fire, Daniel said softly. He swiped to another photo. Richard with his arm around a beautiful woman wearing a silver butterfly pendant. Between them stood a little girl in pigtails. Your mother, Elizabeth, Daniel explained. She was an artist, designed many of the textile patterns that made the company famous. Emily's fingers hovered over the woman's face. I remember the pendant, she whispered. She wore it every day. The butterfly pendant was your father's first gift to her when they were dating, Daniel said. After the fire, he kept it in a frame on his desk. But when he died, it was missing. Victor claimed it must have been misplaced during the funeral arrangements. I saw it, Emily said suddenly, the memory crystallizing. Today, in the newspaper picture, Victor's wife was wearing it at some charity event. Daniel's expression darkened. We'll add that to the growing list of items Victor has appropriated. He continued scrolling through the portfolio, showing Emily the empire that would have been her inheritance. Factories across the Midwest, offices in New York and Los Angeles, charitable foundations bearing the Carter name. After the fire, your father was devastated, Daniel said carefully. Victor stepped in to help with the business, while Richard grieved. Little by little, he took over operations, made himself indispensable, convinced Richard to sign over controlling interests by manipulating documents and lying about the company's financial situation. Emily's throat tightened, and my father just let him. Your father was a broken man, Emily. He lost his wife, thought he'd lost his daughter for years. He suffered from depression. Victor exploited that weakness. Daniel paused. But about 2 years ago, something changed. Richard started asking questions, looking into old records. He hired me initially to review some contracts, but soon we were investigating Victor's entire history with the company. What did you find? Emily asked. Discrepancies, funds that disappeared then reappeared in offshore accounts, signatures that didn't quite match on crucial documents, and witnesses who remembered the night of the fire differently than the official report stated. Emily hugged her knees to her chest, feeling suddenly cold. You said the fire wasn't an accident. Daniel nodded grimly. Your father believed Victor arranged it to eliminate you from the inheritance picture. With you gone, he could more easily manipulate Richard and eventually take control of the company. But why kill my mother? Why not just me? The question sickened her even as she asked it. Your mother was becoming suspicious of Victor's influence. She'd caught him altering numbers in reports to your father. Daniel's voice was gentle but direct. 2 weeks before the fire, she told a friend she was gathering evidence against Victor. That friend was interviewed after the fire, but mysteriously changed her story a month later after receiving a large sum of money from an anonymous benefactor. Emily stood abruptly, pacing her small living room. This is insane. You're talking about premeditated murder, corporate espionage, things that happen in movies, not real life. People have committed worse crimes for less money, Daniel replied simply. Carter Textiles is worth billions. Emily stopped at her window, watching raindrops race down the glass. 20 years of believing she was unwanted, abandoned. 20 years of building a life without roots, while a murderer lived in luxury, wearing her family's legacy like a stolen coat. What happens if the DNA test confirms I'm Richard Carter's daughter? She asked. Still facing the window. We file to have your father's will executed, which includes your legal recognition as his heir. We present evidence of Victor's fraud to the board of directors. And, Daniel added, his tone hardening, we take the evidence of arson and murder to the district attorney. Emily turned back to him. And if Victor tries to stop us, he will, Daniel said without hesitation. He'll claim you're an imposter. He'll destroy evidence. He might even try to threaten you directly. That's why we need to move carefully but quickly. Emily walked to the coffee table and picked up the sealed envelope from her father. What's in this? She asked. I don't know, Daniel admitted. He sealed it before giving it to me. With instructions, it was for your eyes only. With trembling fingers, Emily broke the wax seal and unfolded the letter inside. The handwriting was shaky but determined. My dearest Emily, if you are reading this, then Daniel has succeeded where I failed, and you are alive. The thought fills me with more joy than I can express. Even as I face my own mortality, I have failed you terribly, my daughter. I believed the lies I was told. I was blind to the evil beside me. By the time I began to see the truth, my health was already failing. Know that I never stopped looking for you, even when everyone told me to accept your death. A father knows. Something in my heart refused to believe you were gone. I have arranged for you to inherit everything that is rightfully yours. But more importantly, I have gathered evidence against the man who destroyed our family. That evidence is in a safe deposit box that only Daniel can access once your identity is confirmed. I don't know what kind of woman you have become, but if you are reading this, I know you must be strong. You are a Carter, and Carters don't break. We bend, we adapt, but we always stand again. With all my love across time and beyond death. Your father, Emily, folded the letter carefully, her vision blurred by tears. She refused to let fall. The words settled into her heart like missing pieces of a puzzle she'd been trying to complete her entire life. We do the DNA test tomorrow, she said, her voice steady and resolved. And then we pay Victor Langford a visit. Daniel nodded, satisfaction evident in his expression. He won't know what hit him. Outside, the rain had stopped, and a sliver of moon emerged from behind the clouds. For the first time in 20 years, Emily Dawson, or rather, Emily Carter, felt the stirrings of something she had long abandoned: hope. 3 days after the DNA test, Emily stood before the gleaming glass headquarters of Carter Textiles in downtown Chicago. The skyscraper stretched toward the clouds, its blue-tinted windows reflecting the morning sun like a giant sapphire. The Carter logo, a stylized C intertwined with a thread, crowned the building, visible for blocks in every direction. "Ready?" Daniel asked beside her, briefcase in hand. Emily smoothed her charcoal pencil skirt, a far cry from her flight attendant uniform. She'd spent hours choosing this outfit, professional enough to command respect, but nothing flashy that might betray her nerves. "As I'll ever be," she replied. The marble-floored lobby bustled with employees and visitors. A security guard nodded at Daniel, who was clearly a familiar face, while giving Emily a curious once-over. At the reception desk, Daniel requested a meeting with Victor Langford. "Mr. Hayes." The receptionist greeted him with a professional smile. "Do you have an appointment?" "Tell him it concerns Richard Carter's will," Daniel replied smoothly. 15 minutes later, they were ushered into an express elevator that whisked them to the 47th floor, executive territory. Emily's stomach fluttered, not from the rapid ascent, but from the knowledge that she was entering the lion's den. "Remember," Daniel murmured as the elevator doors opened, "we're not revealing everything today. This is just a preliminary meeting to gauge his reaction. We don't mention the DNA test results until we're ready to make our move." Emily nodded, stepping into a plush corridor adorned with framed photographs chronicling the company's history. She paused at one showing her father cutting a ribbon at a factory opening. In the background, slightly out of focus but unmistakable, stood Victor Langford, watching Richard with an expression that, in hindsight, looked less like admiration and more like calculation. A sleek assistant led them to a set of double doors at the end of the hall. "Mr. Langford will see you now," she said, pushing them open to reveal a corner office with panoramic views of the Chicago skyline. Victor Langford rose from behind a massive mahogany desk. In his mid-50s, he cut an imposing figure, tall and lean with silver-streaked dark hair and cold, assessing eyes that reminded Emily of a predator sizing up potential threats. His tailored suit probably cost more than her monthly rent. "Daniel," Victor acknowledged with a tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. "This is unexpected. And who might your companion be?" "This is Emily Dawson," Daniel replied. "She has some questions regarding Richard Carter's estate." Victor's gaze swept over Emily, revealing nothing. "Please, sit down." He gestured to 2 leather chairs facing his desk. "Though I'm not sure what questions remain. Richard's estate matters were settled months ago." "Not all of them," Daniel countered, taking a seat. Emily sat, her posture perfect, hands folded in her lap to hide their slight trembling. From this vantage point, She could see the Chicago River winding through the city below. Her city, in a way she was only beginning to understand. "Ms. Dawson," Victor addressed her directly. "I don't believe we've met. Are you a distant relation of Richard's? I thought I knew all the Carter family connections." "Not distant," Emily replied evenly. "Quite close, actually." A flicker of something, annoyance, concern, crossed Victor's face before his smooth mask returned. "Well, that's interesting. Richard never mentioned you." "That's because he thought I was dead," Emily said, her voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath her calm exterior. He was misled. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Victor's smile remained fixed, but his eyes hardened like chips of ice. Before he could respond, the office door opened, and a woman entered carrying a portfolio. "Victor, I need your signature on the Singapore contract before—" She stopped. Noticing the visitors, in her early 50s with expertly highlighted blonde hair and the polished look of old money, she wore a cream designer suit and an air of entitlement. Around her neck glittered a silver butterfly pendant. Emily's breath caught. The pendant, her mother's pendant, hanging from this woman's neck as if it belonged there. "Helen," Victor said, a hint of tension in his voice. "I'm in a meeting." "I'm sorry," Helen replied, though her tone suggested she wasn't accustomed to apologizing. Her curious gaze lingered on Emily. "I didn't realize you had visitors." "My wife, Helen Langford," Victor explained unnecessarily. "Helen, this is Daniel Hayes, Richard's attorney, and Miss Emily Dawson, who apparently has some claim to make regarding Richard's estate." Helen's perfectly sculpted eyebrows rose slightly. "A claim? How intriguing." Her hand unconsciously went to the butterfly pendant. Emily couldn't tear her eyes from the necklace. "That's a beautiful pendant," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "Oh, thank you." Helen touched it again, this time deliberately. "It was a gift from my husband. Vintage silver. Quite rare. It belonged to Elizabeth Carter," Emily stated flatly. An uncomfortable silence filled the office. Helen's smile faltered. "I believe you're mistaken," Victor interjected smoothly. "That piece was purchased at an estate sale years ago. My mother wore it every day," Emily continued, ignoring him. "It was a gift from my father. Their initials are engraved on the back." Helen's hand dropped from the pendant as if it had suddenly burned her. "Victor?" she questioned, uncertainty creeping into her voice. Victor gave a dismissive wave. "A coincidence, surely. Elizabeth's jewelry was lost in the fire." He turned back to Emily, his voice hardening. "Ms. Dawson, I'm not sure what game you're playing, but if you're suggesting—" "I'm not suggesting anything yet," Emily interrupted. "I'm just here to introduce myself and let you know that Daniel and I will be reviewing my father's estate matters very thoroughly in the coming weeks." "Your father?" Victor repeated, his voice dangerously quiet. Before anyone could respond, another figure appeared at the door. A young woman in her mid-20s with Helen's blonde hair and Victor's sharp eyes. She wore an expensive-looking dress and an expression of bored curiosity. "Dad, Mom's car is waiting," she announced, then paused, noticing the tension in the room. "Sorry, am I interrupting?" "Not at all, Chloe," Victor replied, his composure instantly restored. "Just wrapping up here, miss. Dawson was just leaving." Emily stood, making direct eye contact with Victor. "Actually, we were discussing Richard Carter's daughter." Chloe rolled her eyes. "The one who died in that fire like 20 years ago? God, Dad, are people still bringing that up?" "Some ghosts refuse to stay buried," Emily replied quietly. Victor rose from his chair, his knuckles white as he gripped the edge of his desk. "Daniel, I suggest you counsel your client very carefully. Making false claims about being Richard Carter's daughter is not only delusional, but potentially actionable as fraud." Daniel remained unruffled. "We're making no claims today, Victor. Just paying a courtesy visit before we proceed with our investigation." "Investigation," Helen echoed, looking increasingly uncomfortable. "Into the circumstances surrounding the fire," Daniel elaborated. "And certain business decisions made afterward." Victor's face hardened into a mask of barely controlled anger. "Richard Carter was my best friend. I won't have his memory tarnished by opportunists." "Funny," Emily said, rising to her feet. "That's exactly what we're trying to prevent." As they turned to leave, Emily noticed a framed photograph on a side table. Richard and Victor, Much younger, arms around each other's shoulders at what appeared to be a company picnic. The genuine smile on her father's face made her heart ache. He'd had no idea the snake he was embracing. "I'll show you out," Chloe offered unexpectedly, her eyes shrewd as she assessed Emily with new interest. In the elevator, Chloe crossed her arms and leaned against the wall. "So you're claiming to be Emily Carter? Ballsy move." "I'm not claiming anything," Emily replied coolly. "But I am curious about one thing. Did your father ever mention how he acquired the butterfly pendant?" Something flickered in Chloe's eyes. Doubt. "Perhaps. He said he found it in Richard's office after the funeral. Said Richard would have wanted Mom to have it as a remembrance." "Interesting," Emily said, as the elevator doors opened to the lobby. "Because according to my father's letter, that pendant went missing while he was in the hospital. Weeks before his death," she stepped out, leaving Chloe staring after her with a troubled expression. Outside on the sidewalk, Daniel exhaled slowly. "Well, that went about as expected." "He knows," Emily said quietly. "He recognized me." Daniel nodded grimly. "And now he knows we're coming for him." Emily glanced back at the towering building bearing her family name. "Good. Let him worry. Let him wonder how much we know." Her eyes hardened. "The game has just begun. DNA results confirmed it," Daniel said, sliding a folder across his office desk. 99,099% probability that you are Richard Carter's biological daughter." Emily opened the folder, staring at the scientific validation of what she'd always felt in her bones. The clinical language and statistical analysis somehow made her identity both more real and more surreal simultaneously. "So, what now?" she asked. Daniel leaned back in his leather chair. His office was nothing like Victor's ostentatious display of power. Smaller, warmer, with law books lining the walls and framed diplomas that spoke of hard work, rather than inherited privilege. "Now we build our case methodically," he replied. "Victor's already making moves. 2 board members called me this morning asking about rumors of an imposter. He's trying to discredit you before we even present the evidence." Emily traced the edge of the DNA report. "We need more than just this, don't we? We need irrefutable proof that Victor orchestrated the fire and manipulated your father afterward," Daniel confirmed. "Which is why we're meeting someone in an hour who might help with that. But first, there's somewhere I think you should visit." 40 minutes later, Daniel's car pulled up in front of a wrought iron gate in Lakeshore Highlands, Chicago's old money neighborhood. Beyond the gate stretched a tree-lined driveway leading to an empty lot, overgrown with weeds and wildflowers. "This was your home," Daniel said softly. Emily stepped out of the car, approaching the gate slowly. The property was massive, at least an acre, bordered by manicured estates on either side. In the center, barely visible through the overgrowth, lay a concrete foundation, the ghost of a mansion. "Why wasn't it rebuilt?" she asked, her fingers curling around the cool iron bars. "Your father couldn't bear it. He moved into a penthouse downtown and left this place to nature." Daniel handed her a small key. "The gate's still operational," with shaking hands. Emily unlocked the gate and pushed it open. The hinges creaked from disuse. She walked up the driveway, autumn leaves crunching beneath her boots, feeling as though she were walking back in time. As she approached the foundation, fragmented memories began to surface. A tire swing hanging from the massive oak tree that still stood sentinel at the edge of the property. A garden path lined with her mother's favorite daisies. The sound of a piano playing somewhere inside the house while she colored at a sunlit table. Emily knelt beside what would have been the front steps, touching the scorched concrete. The smell of smoke seemed to ghost across her senses, not imagined, but pulled from the recesses of a child's traumatic memories. The fire started in the east wing. "Your mother's art studio," Daniel said, keeping a respectful distance. According to the official report, a space heater malfunctioned. The investigation found it had been tampered with to remove safety features. Emily closed her eyes, and suddenly she was 7 years old again. She remembered waking to the smell of smoke, remembered her mother rushing into her room, panic in her eyes. "Emily, wake up, we have to go!" She remembered being carried through thickening smoke, remembered her mother stopping at her studio door, crying out in horror at the wall of flames. No, the paintings, Richard's letter. She went back for something, Emily whispered, the memory crystallizing. "We were almost out. but she went back to her studio. She told me to run to the big oak tree and wait for her there. She opened her eyes, turning to Daniel with sudden clarity. There was something in her studio, something important that she was desperate to save. Evidence against Victor, perhaps, Daniel suggested. Your father mentioned in his notes that your mother was compiling a file. Emily stood, brushing dirt from her knees as she stared at the place where her childhood had literally gone up in flames. I need to see where they found me. Daniel pointed to the far side of the foundation, near the oak tree. According to the emergency records, you were found unconscious here, suffering from smoke inhalation. Your mother's body was recovered inside, near the studio doorway. Emily walked to the spot, standing under the massive branches of the oak tree. 20 years ago, a terrified child had waited here for a mother who never returned. I remember a melody, she said suddenly. My mother used to sing it while she painted. I can almost hear it when I stand here. She hummed a few notes, a haunting fragment of a lullaby that had followed her through dreams for 20 years. I have something that might help with that, Daniel said, leading her back to the car. From the trunk, he retrieved a cardboard box. Your father kept these in his private vault. I retrieved them after his death. Inside the box were salvaged items from the fire, a charred leather-bound book, a partially melted picture frame, and a small music box, blackened with soot but still intact. This survived, Emily asked incredulously, lifting the music box. It was in a fire-resistant safe in your father's study. Not everything was destroyed. With trembling fingers, Emily wound the tiny key and lifted the lid. A delicate melody tinkled out, the exact tune she'd been humming under the oak tree. Tears filled her eyes as 20 years of fragmented memory crystallized around this tangible piece of her past. The music box played her mother's lullaby, confirming that her dreams hadn't been mere fabrication. She was real, Emily whispered. My life with them was real. Daniel checked his watch. We should go. Our appointment is in 20 minutes. As they drove downtown, Emily clutched the music box in her lap, occasionally opening it to hear the melody that connected her to her mother. The city streets blurred past as she processed what she'd experienced at her former home. Where are we going now? She finally asked, pulling herself back to the present. To meet someone who might help us prove Victor's involvement in the fire, Daniel replied, turning into an underground parking garage. Richard's personal investigator. He was looking into Victor's activities before he died. The investigator's office was in a nondescript building, several blocks from Carter Textiles headquarters. Martin Reeves was a former police detective with shrewd eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. His cramped office smelled of coffee and old paper. So you're Richard's girl, he said, studying Emily with professional assessment. The resemblance is there, around the eyes especially. Mr. Reeves was working for your father for the last 18 months of his life, Daniel explained. He's the one who uncovered the first evidence that Victor might have been involved in the fire. Reeves unlocked a filing cabinet and pulled out a thick folder. Richard hired me to look into financial discrepancies at first, but the deeper I dug, the more I found that didn't add up about the fire. He spread several documents on his desk. Victor Langford made 3 large cash withdrawals in the weeks before the fire, $50,000 each time. No record of where that money went. Emily leaned forward. Could that have been payment to whoever tampered with the heater? That's what your father suspected, Reeves confirmed. But we needed proof then. 2 months ago, I tracked down a former maintenance worker who remembered Victor asking about access to the house, specifically to your mother's studio the week before the fire. Did my father know this? Emily asked. I told him the day before he had his heart attack, Reeves said grimly. He was planning to confront Victor, but never got the chance. Or perhaps the confrontation caused the heart attack, Daniel suggested darkly. Reeves nodded. That possibility occurred to me as well. He handed Emily an envelope. Your father wrote this the day he died, asked me to deliver it to his safe deposit box in case anything happened to him. Emily opened it with care. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered with her father's handwriting, shakier than in his previous letter. I know now what Victor did. The maintenance logs, the missing funds, Elizabeth's suspicions. It all points to him. He destroyed my family for money, murdered my wife, took my daughter from me. If I don't survive this confrontation, ensure this evidence reaches the proper authorities. And if by some miracle my Emily is found alive, tell her I never stopped looking. Tell her I'm sorry I failed to protect them both. Richard Carter. Emily folded the letter carefully. This is the smoking gun, isn't it? It's certainly damning, Daniel agreed. Combined with the financial records and witness statements, it builds a compelling case. There's one more thing, Reeves said, hesitation evident in his voice. The night before your father died, he called me, said he'd found something in Victor's office during a board meeting, a key to a private safe deposit box Victor kept at First National. He believed that's where Victor kept his insurance, documents he'd used to manipulate Richard over the years. Did he get into the box? Emily asked. Reeves shook his head. He died before he could try, and without knowing the box number. We need to find that box, Daniel concluded. Emily studied the letter again, a cold determination settling in her chest. The pieces were falling into place. The fire, her father's manipulation, the stolen company. 20 years of Victor Langford's carefully constructed lies were beginning to unravel. Victor knows we're investigating, she said. After our visit yesterday, he'll be destroying evidence. Then we need to move quickly, Daniel agreed. But carefully, Victor Langford is a dangerous man. Now more than ever. Emily clutched her father's letter, thinking of the charred foundation of her childhood home, the melody from the music box, and the silver butterfly pendant around Helen Langford's neck. Each piece of her stolen past fueled her resolve. He took everything from me, she said quietly. Now I'm going to take everything from him. The Mercy Medical Center's retirement wing was a far cry from its bustling main facility. Potted plants and inspirational quotes adorned the walls, attempting to mask the institutional nature of the place. Emily and Daniel followed a young nurse down a quiet corridor to a small garden courtyard where an elderly woman sat feeding birds. Grace Peterson has worked here for 30 years, Daniel explained in a hushed voice. She was the emergency nurse on duty the night of the fire. Your father tried to speak with her several times over the years, but she always refused. What makes you think she'll talk to me? Emily asked. Because you're proof that her silence had consequences. Grace looked up as they approached, silver-haired, with kind eyes shadowed by weariness. Recognition flickered across her face when she saw Emily, followed immediately by something that looked like fear. Mrs. Peterson, Daniel greeted her. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Grace's hands trembled slightly as she set aside her breadcrumbs. I didn't agree to anything. I told the receptionist I wasn't interested in visitors. Please, Emily said, stepping forward. I just have a few questions about the night I was brought in, the night of the Carter house fire. Grace's eyes darted nervously to the building, then back to Emily. I don't know anything about that. It was a long time ago. 20 years, Emily agreed. I was 7. You treated me for smoke inhalation. I treated hundreds of patients, Grace replied, her voice hardening. I don't remember specifics. Daniel pulled out a photograph. Emily's hospital admission photo from that night. Her small face smudged with soot, oxygen mask covering her nose and mouth. This was taken under your care, Mrs. Peterson. You listed her as Jane Doe, despite the fact that the firefighters told you she was Emily Carter. Grace's composure cracked slightly. You should leave. Why did you falsify my records? Emily asked, keeping her voice gentle despite the anger simmering beneath. Why send me to an orphanage when you knew who I was? I can't, Grace began, then stopped herself. Please, this isn't a good time. Someone paid you? Didn't they? Daniel pressed. To make Emily Carter disappear. Grace stood abruptly, nearly knocking over her chair. I have medication to distribute. Excuse me. Emily reached out, catching the older woman's wrist. My mother died in that fire. My father spent 20 years believing I was dead too. Please, I deserve to know why. Something in Emily's plea seemed to reach through Grace's fear. The nurse sank back into her chair, defeat etched into the lines of her face. He said it was for your protection, she whispered. That powerful people wanted to hurt you to control your father's company. Who said this? Daniel asked. Though they all knew the answer. Victor Langford. Grace's voice was barely audible. He came to the hospital that night. Said there had been threats against the Carter family. That's why the fire happened. Said the safest thing for you was to disappear completely. Get a new identity. Emily exchanged a glance with Daniel. And you believed him? Grace's eyes filled with tears. He was Richard Carter's best friend, a respected businessman. He showed me documents, police reports about threats, and he had a court order giving him temporary guardianship while your father was sedated with grief. Those documents were forged, Daniel said gently. Grace nodded miserably. I realized that later. But by then what? Emily prompted. He paid me, Grace admitted, shame flooding her face. $50,000, said it was from Richard to ensure your safety and my silence. I had 3 kids in college. Medical bills from my husband's cancer treatment. It seemed like a miracle. Emily felt a complex mixture of emotions. Anger at this woman's complicity, yet understanding of her desperation. What happened after that night? I registered you as an unidentified minor. Arranged the transfer to child services. Grace wrung her hands. 6 months later, I tried to check on you. I was worried, but when I went to the address Victor had given me for follow-ups, it was just an empty office. When I tried calling him, he threatened me. Said if I ever mentioned you again, I'd lose my nursing license and go to jail for taking bribes. So you stayed silent, Daniel concluded. I've regretted it every day since, Grace whispered. I've prayed you found a good home, that you were safe. I ended up in the system, Emily said flatly. Bounced between foster homes until I aged out. No family ever adopted me. Fresh tears spilled down Grace's cheeks. I'm so sorry. He told me you were going to a private adoption, a safe house for children of wealthy families under threat. Emily took a deep breath, tamping down the surge of anger. This broken woman wasn't the true villain. She was just another pawn in Victor's game. Mrs. Peterson, Daniel said, would you be willing to testify about this? About Victor's role in falsifying Emily's records and essentially kidnapping her? Terror flashed across Grace's face. He'd ruin me, my pension, my reputation. He's going to prison, Emily interrupted. For arson, for murder, for fraud. But we need your testimony to help make that happen. Grace studied Emily's face for a long moment. You look like your mother, she said finally. She came to one of my childbirth classes when she was pregnant with you. She was so excited, so full of love already. Something shifted in Grace's expression, resignation giving way to resolve. What do you need me to do? While Daniel explained the legal process to Grace, Emily's phone buzzed with a text from Martin Reeves. Need to meet ASAP. Found something in Richard's storage unit. 30 min at my office. We need to go, Emily told Daniel after showing him the message. Grace caught Emily's hand as they rose to leave. Can you ever forgive me? The nurse asked, her voice breaking. Emily hesitated, the years of loneliness and confusion weighing against this woman's misguided choice. Help us get justice, she said finally. That's all I ask right now. Outside the retirement home, Daniel checked his messages. 3 missed calls from my office. Something's wrong. As they reached his car, Daniel's assistant called again. Daniel, thank God. The office was broken into last night. They trashed everything. Files everywhere. Computers smashed. Were they looking for something specific? Daniel asked, his voice tight. The Carter files are gone, the assistant confirmed. And that's not all. Someone tried to access Richard's safe deposit box at First National using forged credentials this morning. Daniel ended the call, his expression grim. Victor's moving faster than we anticipated. We need to secure what evidence we still have. At Reeves's office, the private investigator was waiting with a cardboard box. Found this hidden in a storage unit Richard rented under his mother's maiden name. Seems he didn't trust keeping sensitive materials at home or the office. Inside the box was a treasure trove, financial records showing Victor's systematic embezzlement over 2 decades, copies of documents with forged signatures, and most damning of all, a private investigator's report from 15 years earlier, one of Richard's many attempts to find Emily. Look at this, Reeves said, pointing to a note scrawled in the margin. Investigator disappeared after meeting with VL, last known location. Carter Lake House. Victor intercepted every attempt Richard made to find me, Emily realized, the full weight of the betrayal sinking in. And look at this, Reeves continued, pulling out a flash drive. It's encrypted, but the label says Elizabeth's backup. Could be your mother's files, the ones she went back into the fire for. Can you decrypt it? Daniel asked. Already working on it, Reeves confirmed. Should have something by tomorrow. As they were preparing to leave with the evidence, Daniel's phone rang again. He answered, listened for a moment, then paled. "We need to go now," he said to Emily. "That was my security company. Someone broke into my apartment building. The doorman was assaulted. Victor's men," Emily concluded. "Trying to find the copies of our evidence," Daniel agreed. "Which means he's desperate, outside Reeves' building." Emily spotted a black SUV with tinted windows idling across the street. "Daniel," she said quietly, "I think we're being watched." Daniel glanced over, then smoothly guided her toward his car. "Martin, get that flash drive decrypted and meet us at the backup location we discussed. Don't go home tonight." As they pulled away from the curb, the SUV engine started. Daniel made a sudden turn down a one-way street, then another, navigating Chicago's grid with practiced precision until the SUV was no longer visible in his rearview mirror. "Where are we going?" Emily asked. "Somewhere Victor would never think to look for us," Daniel replied, heading toward the lake. "Richard's old boathouse. It's been sitting empty since his death, but the security system still works." Emily stared out the window, watching the city blur past. In just a few days, her simple life had transformed into a dangerous game of cat and mouse, with a man who had already proven he was willing to kill to protect his secrets. "We need to move up our timeline," she said decisively. "Victor knows we're gathering evidence. He's trying to destroy whatever he can find." "Agreed," Daniel replied. "I'll call the board secretary tonight, request an emergency session for the day after tomorrow. Will they agree to it? With Richard Carter's daughter making allegations of criminal misconduct against the current CEO, they'll have to." Daniel's eyes met hers briefly. "Are you ready for this to go public? Once we present to the board, there's no going back." Emily thought of Grace Peterson's tearful confession, of her father's desperate search, of her mother going back into the flames to retrieve evidence. "I've been hidden away for 20 years, she said, determination hardening her voice. "It's time for Emily Carter to step into the light." Richard Carter's boathouse sat at the edge of Lake Michigan, its weathered cedar exterior belying the sophisticated interior. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the water, now darkened to indigo under the evening sky. Emily stood at those windows, watching waves lap against the private dock where a sleek yacht remained covered for the season. "Another piece of your inheritance," Daniel remarked, setting up his laptop at the dining table now covered with documents. "Your father loved this place, said it was the only spot where he could truly clear his head." Emily ran her fingers along a shelf of nautical books, pausing at a framed photograph of her father at the helm of the yacht. Laughing into the wind, a much younger version of herself sat perched on his shoulders, her small hands gripping his hair. "I remember this day," she said softly. "Mom was seasick and stayed on shore. Dad let me pretend to steer. The memories are coming back," Daniel observed. "In fragments, like puzzle pieces, I'm not sure how to fit together." The boathouse security system beeped, announcing a visitor. Daniel checked the monitor. "It's Reeves." The investigator entered, looking harried. "I was followed from my office. Lost them in the warehouse district. But we should assume they know I'm working with you." "Did you decrypt the drive?" Emily asked. Reeves nodded, producing a laptop. "Most of it. Your mother was thorough. Financial records, corporate minutes with handwritten notes about discrepancies, photographs of altered documents." He opened the laptop, showing them a series of folders meticulously organized by date. "Elizabeth was an artist, but she had a businesswoman's mind for details," Daniel commented, scrolling through the files. "She suspected Victor long before the fire." "There's more," Reeves said grimly. 2 weeks before the fire, she sent this email to her attorney. The message was brief. "Have discovered significant irregularities in company finances. VL, involved in systematic fraud. Meeting with forensic accountant Friday. Will bring documentation. Please prepare for possible criminal charges." "The fire happened on Thursday," Emily said quietly, "the day before she was supposed to meet with the accountant. Victor must have intercepted this communication somehow," Daniel concluded. "He had access to the company email server," Reeves confirmed. "As Richard's right-hand man, he could monitor anything without raising suspicion." Emily paced the length of the boathouse, energy thrumming through her veins. "So we have proof he had motive. Grace's testimony connects him to my disappearance. What else do we need?" "Direct evidence of his involvement in the fire," Daniel replied. The maintenance worker Reeves interviewed is a start, but we need more. Emily's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She frowned, opening the message. Know who you are? Need to talk. About the fire. Alone. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Navy Pier Ferris wheel. Come alone or I disappear. CL. Daniel read over her shoulder. Chloe Langford. Victor's daughter. Emily confirmed. Why would she want to meet me? It could be a trap, Reeves warned. Or she might know something, Emily countered. She seemed rattled when I mentioned the pendant yesterday. Daniel's phone rang. The board secretary returning his call, he stepped outside to take it, leaving Emily and Reeves to continue examining Elizabeth's files. Your mother was building a case against Victor for years, Reeves noted, opening a folder labeled Acquisitions, Questionable. Look at this pattern. Each time Carter Textiles acquired a smaller company, Victor managed to skim profits through shell corporations. Emily studied the complex financial diagrams her mother had created. She was an artist. She could visualize connections others missed. Exactly why Victor feared her, Reeves agreed. She was close to exposing him when the boathouse door opened as Daniel returned, his expression tense. The board meeting is set for tomorrow at 2 p.m. Victor's already launching a counter-offensive. He's told the board he's uncovered an elaborate fraud scheme involving an imposter claiming to be Emily Carter. He's trying to get ahead of the story, Emily realized. That's not all, Daniel continued. He's scheduled a press conference for noon tomorrow to address malicious rumors threatening the stability of Carter Textiles. Controlling the narrative, Reeves muttered. Classic move. Emily glanced at the text from Chloe again. If I meet with Chloe in the morning, I could potentially gain another ally, or at least insight into Victor's plans, before the board meeting. It's risky, Daniel cautioned. My entire life was stolen because no one was willing to take risks, Emily replied firmly. I'm done hiding. The discussion was interrupted by another security alert. All three froze, eyes darting to the monitor. A woman stood at the entrance, her blonde hair immediately recognizable even in the dim security light. Helen Langford, Daniel said incredulously. Victor's wife. Reeves reached instinctively for the gun holstered under his jacket. Let her in, Emily decided after a moment's hesitation. Helen entered cautiously, her designer coat and heels incongruous against the rustic boathouse setting. Her makeup was impeccable, but couldn't quite hide the redness around her eyes. I apologize for the intrusion, she said, her voice steadier than her hands. My daughter told me where to find you. Chloe sent you, Emily asked. Helen nodded, reaching into her purse and withdrawing a small velvet box. I believe this belongs to you. She opened it to reveal the silver butterfly pendant. I didn't know, Helen said softly. Victor told me it was purchased at an estate sale when you mentioned the engravings yesterday. I checked the back. She turned the pendant over, revealing tiny initials, E&R. Elizabeth and Richard, Emily whispered. My husband has lied about many things, it seems. Helen's composure wavered. I found these in his home office safe this afternoon. She handed Daniel a flash drive. Financial records, offshore accounts, and correspondence with someone named Mercer about the Carter situation from 20 years ago. Daniel inserted the drive into his laptop, quickly scanning the contents. This is a gold mine, he murmured. Transfer records matching the cash withdrawals before the fire. Payments to Grace Peterson. Surveillance reports on Richard's investigators. Why are you giving us this? Emily asked. Studying Helen carefully, Helen met her gaze directly for the first time. Because I recognized you the moment you walked into Victor's office yesterday. You have your mother's eyes. She twisted her wedding ring nervously. I've suspected things about Victor's business dealings for years, but convinced myself not to look too closely. Our lifestyle was comfortable, but this, she gestured to the pendant. This crossed a line I cannot ignore. Does Victor know you've taken these files? Reeves asked. Not yet, Helen replied. He's meeting with the board members individually tonight, shoring up support before tomorrow's meeting. Emily exchanged glances with Daniel and Reeves. This unexpected development had dramatically improved their position. One more thing, Helen added. The press conference tomorrow. Victor's planning to announce that psychiatric evaluations prove you're a delusional imposter with a history of identity fraud. He's fabricated an entire background for Emily Dawson as a con artist. That's absurd, Daniel sputtered. We have DNA evidence, witness testimony. He's desperate, Emily interrupted. Which means he's dangerous. Helen nodded grimly. More than you know. I overheard him on the phone earlier arranging for permanent solution to our Carter problem. I don't know exactly what that means, but it means he's planning something beyond character assassination, Reeves concluded. You all need protection. What about you? Mrs. Langford? Emily asked. When Victor discovers you've helped us, I've made my arrangements, Helen replied with dignity. Chloe and I are leaving tonight for our house in Aspen. Victor doesn't know that I know about his affairs. Both kinds. A flash of bitterness crossed her face. I've transferred funds to my personal accounts. We'll be fine. She hesitated, then unclasped the butterfly pendant from around her neck. This should never have been mine, she said, holding it out to Emily. Your mother wore it every day. I remember seeing it at company functions. Emily took the pendant, feeling its familiar weight in her palm, the last tangible connection to her mother. Thank you, she said simply, after Helen departed. The three of them regrouped around the dining table, assessing their strengthened position. With Helen's files, we have enough to not only prove your identity beyond question, but also to build a criminal case against Victor, Daniel said, organizing documents into folders. We should still proceed with caution, Reeves advised. Victor's clearly willing to go to extreme lengths to protect himself. Emily fastened the butterfly pendant around her neck, feeling a sense of her mother's presence. The board meeting is at 2 p.m., she said decisively. I'll meet Chloe at 10 a.m. as requested, if she has additional information about the fire. That could be the final piece we need. She looked out at the darkened lake, thinking of the 2 decades that had been stolen from her. Tomorrow, Emily Carter would reclaim her name, her legacy, and her future, and Victor Langford would finally face justice for what he had done. Navy Pier was already bustling with tourists despite the early hour. Emily stood at the base of the Ferris wheel, the silver butterfly pendant visible against her black turtleneck as she scanned the crowd for any sign of Chloe Langford. Against Daniel's advice, she had come alone, though Reeves was positioned nearby, keeping a discreet watch from a cafe across the promenade. You actually came. Emily turned to find Chloe standing behind her, looking less polished than she had in her father's office. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, designer clothes replaced with jeans and a leather jacket. You said it was about the fire, Emily replied. That's not something I'd ignore. Chloe glanced around nervously. Let's get on the Ferris wheel. No one can eavesdrop there, as their gondola ascended, offering an expansive view of Lake Michigan and the Chicago skyline. Chloe remained silent, fidgeting with a charm bracelet on her wrist. My mother gave me these files last night, she finally said, pulling a manila envelope from her bag. Before she left for Aspen, she told me everything about who you really are, what my father did. Emily took the envelope, peeking inside to find photographs and handwritten notes. Why are you giving me this? Chloe stared out at the city, her profile sharp against the blue sky. I found something when I was 12, a locked box in my father's closet. I was looking for Christmas presents. Her laugh was hollow. Instead, I found newspaper clippings about the fire, reports on Richard Carter's search for his daughter, and a receipt for a special electrical modification to a space heater. Emily's breath caught. Did you confront him? I was 12, Chloe said bitterly. I convinced myself I'd misunderstood, that my father couldn't possibly be involved in something so terrible. She turned to face Emily directly. But when you walked into his office yesterday and mentioned the butterfly pendant, I saw something in his eyes I've never seen before. Fear. The Ferris wheel reached its apex, suspending them momentarily above the city. Last night, he came home drunk after meeting with board members, started ranting about taking care of loose ends once and for all. When I asked what he meant, he just said, the past stays buried, no matter how much digging people do. Chloe's voice trembled. He scared me. For the first time in my life, my father terrified me. Emily opened the envelope, finding photographs of documents, including the receipt for the modified heater Chloe had mentioned. This is evidence of premeditated murder. I know. Chloe looked down at her hands. My whole life, everything we had, was built on what he stole from you, from your family. You didn't know. Emily said gently. But I suspected, Chloe countered, and I chose to look away. She glanced at her watch. Dad's press conference is in 2 hours. He's planning to destroy your credibility before you can present to the board. We have DNA evidence, witness testimony. He's going to claim the DNA lab was bribed. The Daniel Hayes fabricated evidence for a percentage of the Carter fortune. Chloe's expression was grim. He's been working on this narrative for days, calling in favors from media contacts, preparing board members. As the Ferris wheel completed its circuit and their gondola returned to ground level, Chloe grabbed Emily's arm. There's one more thing. My father's head of security, Mercer, he was at our house this morning. I overheard them discussing contingency plans if the board meeting doesn't go as expected. What kind of contingency plans? I don't know specifics, but Mercer asked if physical intervention was authorized. Chloe's eyes were wide with fear. Be careful, Emily. My father is cornered, and that makes him dangerous. With that warning lingering in the air, they parted ways. Chloe hurrying toward a waiting taxi, Emily meeting Reeves at the cafe to share her discoveries. By noon, they had reunited with Daniel at his backup office across town. The three of them watched Victor's press conference on a laptop, Emily's stomach tightening as he approached the podium at Carter Textiles headquarters. Victor appeared the epitome of a concerned executive, grave but composed, his tailored suit projecting authority as cameras flashed around him. Thank you for coming on such short notice, he began, his voice measured. It is with great regret that I must address a disturbing situation affecting Carter Textiles, a company I've helped lead for over 20 years, since the tragic death of my dear friend Richard Carter. He paused, his expression shifting to one of righteous indignation. Recently, an individual claiming to be Richard's long-deceased daughter Emily has emerged. Guided by an attorney with questionable ethics, they have attempted to manipulate the tragic fire that claimed Elizabeth Carter's life, and we all believed young Emily's as well. Victor's voice hardened. After thorough investigation, we have confirmed this woman is a fraud, a con artist named Emily Dawson with a history of identity theft and financial scams. We have evidence she bribed laboratory officials for falsified DNA results and coerced vulnerable witnesses into supporting her fiction. He's flipping the entire narrative, Daniel muttered, scribbling notes furiously. Carter Textiles will not be held hostage by opportunists seeking to capitalize on tragedy, Victor continued, his performance flawless. We have filed for an emergency injunction against these individuals and are cooperating with authorities to ensure they face appropriate consequences for their actions. The press erupted with questions, which Victor fielded with practiced ease, each answer further cementing his version of events. Emily as calculated imposter, Daniel as corrupt lawyer, their evidence as elaborate fabrications. Emily watched in cold fury as the man who had destroyed her family now worked to destroy her reputation before she could even reclaim her name. He's good, Reeves observed grimly. The press is eating it up. Let them, Emily said, standing. In 2 hours the board will hear the truth. All of it. The Carter Textiles boardroom occupied the entire west wing of the top floor, offering panoramic views of Chicago through floor-to-ceiling windows. 14 people sat around a massive table of polished walnut when Emily entered with Daniel and Reeves at 2 p.m. sharp. Victor stood at the head, momentarily faltering when he saw Emily wearing the butterfly pendant, before quickly recovering his composure. Mr. Hayes, the board chairwoman, Patricia Winters, acknowledged Daniel with cool professionalism. I understand you've requested this emergency session regarding Miss Dawson's claims. Regarding Miss Carter's identity and evidence of corporate malfeasance, Daniel corrected, setting his briefcase on the table. And yes, we appreciate the board's willingness to hear this matter directly. Victor's smile was razor sharp. The board is always thorough, even when addressing obvious fabrications, though I believe the press conference earlier clarified the situation for most. Actually, Emily said, stepping forward, that press conference will be Exhibit A in the defamation suit we'll be filing tomorrow. Murmurs rippled through the boardroom. Victor's smile didn't waver, though his knuckles whitened as he gripped his chair. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel began, distributing folders to each board member. The documentation before you establishes 3 critical facts. First, that Emily Dawson is, in fact, Emily Carter, daughter of Richard and Elizabeth Carter. Second, that Victor Langford orchestrated her disappearance following the fire that killed Elizabeth Carter. And third, that Mr. Langford has systematically defrauded this company and its shareholders for over 20 years. Victor laughed dismissively. These are desperate fabrications. The DNA test they're claiming is legitimate was performed at a lab where the technician suddenly received $100,000 in his personal account. Which is why, Daniel countered smoothly. We had 3 independent tests performed at facilities selected by former FBI forensic specialists. He pulled additional reports from his briefcase, all confirming a 99% probability that Emily is Richard Carter's daughter. The board chairwoman examined the reports, her expression giving nothing away. Even if Mrs. Dawson is Emily Carter, a significant if, that doesn't substantiate accusations of fraud or criminal activity. Which brings us to our next witness, Daniel replied, nodding to Reeves, who opened the boardroom door. Grace Peterson entered, her nurse's uniform crisp despite her obvious nervousness. Behind her came Helen Langford, her unexpected appearance causing several board members to gasp. Victor's face drained of color. "Helen," he began, but she cut him off with a raised hand. "I've already given my statement to the authorities, Victor," she said coldly, "about the money transfers before the fire, about the meetings with Mercer, about the butterfly pendant you claimed came from an estate sale. For the next 40 minutes, the board listened in stunned silence as Grace described her role in Emily's disappearance. Helen detailed financial records she'd discovered, and Daniel presented Elizabeth's decrypted files showing years of embezzlement and fraud throughout it all. Emily watched Victor's facade crumble piece by piece, the confident executive giving way to the desperate criminal beneath. When the testimonies concluded, Patricia Winters turned to Victor. "Mr. Langford, these are extremely serious allegations. Do you wish to respond?" Victor stood, straightening his tie as he visibly struggled to regain control. "This is a coordinated attack on my character and this company. I've dedicated my life to Carter Textiles. Richard was my best friend." "You killed my mother," Emily interrupted, her voice steady despite the emotion behind it. "You erased my existence. You manipulated my grieving father and stole everything he built." She placed a final document on the table, the receipt for the modified heater Chloe had photographed. "This is the smoking gun, Mr. Langford. A receipt for the device that started the fire. Paid for with your personal credit card." The boardroom erupted into chaos as Victor lunged across the table, reaching for the document. Security guards rushed forward, restraining him as he shouted accusations of conspiracy and frame-up. Patricia Winters rapped her gavel sharply. "This meeting is suspended. Security will escort Mr. Langford to his office where he will remain until authorities arrive. The board will reconvene in 1 hour to address interim leadership." As Victor was led away, still shouting threats and denials, Emily caught his eye. For a moment, all pretense dropped away, revealing the cold calculation that had driven him to destroy her family. "This isn't over," he hissed as he passed her. "No," Emily agreed quietly, "but it's beginning to be. He's gone." The security guard's announcement silenced the reconvened board meeting. After being escorted to his office, Victor had somehow slipped past the guards during a shift change. By the time anyone noticed, his office had been hastily emptied of personal items and confidential files. "We've notified the police," Patricia Winters said, her normally composed demeanor shaken. "They've issued an alert for all airports, train stations, and major highways." Emily exchanged glances with Daniel. This development wasn't entirely unexpected, but it was still unsettling. A desperate Victor Langford was even more dangerous than a cornered one. "If I may suggest," Daniel addressed the board, "we should immediately freeze all company accounts Victor had access to and revoke his credentials. His personal accounts as well, though that would require a court order." Patricia nodded. "Already done. Our IT department is changing access codes as we speak. The CFO is reviewing recent financial movements." As the board debated next steps, Emily stepped aside with Reeves. "He won't go home," she said quietly. "Helen and Chloe have left, and he knows we have evidence from his home office." "Agreed," Reeves replied. "My contacts at O'Hare and Midway are on alert. Victor maintains several aliases for business purposes. We've flagged those as well." Emily touched the butterfly pendant at her neck, thinking, "What about properties? Does he own any under different names?" Reeves considered this. Not that we know of, but it's worth looking into. He might have escape plans we haven't anticipated. The board meeting concluded with an emergency resolution. Victor Langford was suspended pending investigation. Company security was elevated to highest protocols, and Emily Carter was officially recognized as Richard Carter's heir and a major shareholder. "This is just the beginning of a lengthy process," Patricia informed Emily. "There will be legal formalities, shareholder meetings, potential criminal proceedings. But for now, the board acknowledges your rightful place in this company." As they left the boardroom, Emily's phone buzzed with a text from Chloe. "Dad called. Threatened Mom. Said she'd regret betraying him. We're scared." Emily showed Daniel the message. "We should arrange protection for them in Aspen." "Already done," he assured her. "I contacted a security firm there before the meeting." Outside the Carter Textiles building, news crews had gathered. Alerted by the drama unfolding inside, Emily kept her head down as Daniel ushered her through the crowd to a waiting car. "Where to?" the driver asked. Emily hesitated. The boathouse felt exposed now that Victor knew they'd been using it. Her apartment might be under surveillance. "The Peninsula Hotel," Daniel decided, under the name we discussed. The luxury hotel's heightened security and discretion made it an ideal temporary headquarters. Once settled in a suite, they established a command center of sorts. Laptops, phones, documents spread across the dining table as they coordinated with Reeves, police contacts, and bank investigators tracking Victor's potential escape routes. His executive assistant finally talked. Reeves reported by phone around 7 p.m. Victor had her book a private charter from a small airfield in Waukegan, scheduled for 9 p.m. tonight. Destination Grand Cayman. Tax haven with limited extradition, Daniel noted. Classic choice. "Police are setting up surveillance at the airfield," Reeves continued. "But there's something else." Before leaving, Victor accessed the company's secure document room. The logs show he downloaded several archived files to a portable drive. "Which files?" Emily asked, a cold feeling settling in her stomach. "Records from 20 years ago. Board minutes from the months following the fire. Insurance claims, and all documentation related to Richard Carter's search for you." Emily frowned. "Why would he take those? We already have most of that evidence." "Perhaps there's something in those files we missed," Daniel suggested. "Something that could still hurt him, or implicate others." The thought lingered uncomfortably as night fell over Chicago. Police reported no sign of Victor at his known properties or clubs. His credit cards remained unused, his phone powered off. Around 8:30 p.m., Emily stood at the hotel window, watching the city lights while Daniel coordinated with the legal team preparing injunctions against Victor. The waiting was excruciating. The sensation that Victor was still one step ahead, still controlling the narrative even in flight. Her phone rang. An unknown number. "Hello," she answered cautiously. "Ms. Carter." Victor's voice was chillingly calm. "Congratulations on your performance today. Very convincing," Emily signaled frantically to Daniel, who immediately began tracing the call. "It wasn't a performance, Victor. Just the truth finally coming to light." His laugh was brittle. "Truth is subjective." "My dear, always has been. Your father understood that, eventually." "Where are you, Victor?" Emily asked, keeping him talking while Daniel worked. "Somewhere safe, somewhere to regroup before I correct this unfortunate misunderstanding." "It's over," Emily said firmly. "The board has suspended you. The police are looking for you. We have evidence of everything. The fraud, the fire, my disappearance. Evidence can disappear," Victor replied coldly. "People too. Your father learned that the hard way." The implied threat hung in the air. Daniel showed Emily his screen, indicating the call was being traced. "My father's heart attack," Emily said carefully. "Did you have something to do with that too?" A pause. Richard was making poor choices toward the end, becoming unstable. The stress was too much for his heart. "You killed him," Emily realized. Horror flooding through her. "Just like you killed my mother. I did what was necessary to protect what I built," Victor replied, an edge creeping into his voice. "Everything Carter Textiles became was because of me. Richard was just the name, the face. I was the vision, the drive, the vision to commit murder for profit." Emily's anger broke through. To orphan a child and steal her birthright. "Collateral damage," Victor dismissed. Business requires difficult decisions. Daniel gave Emily a thumbs up. They had the location. Is that what you'll tell a jury, Victor? That my mother and father were just collateral damage in your business plan? Oh, I won't be facing any jury, Victor said with renewed confidence. By this time tomorrow, I'll be beyond reach, and you'll be facing questions about your mental stability after your tragic suicide. Emily's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Check the business news tomorrow morning, Victor replied cryptically. Goodbye, Ms. Carter. Or should I say, goodbye, Emily Dawson. Neither identity will survive the night. The line went dead. Emily stared at Daniel in alarm. He's at the Carter Textiles data center, Daniel reported. It's a secure facility in the industrial district where all the company's backup servers are housed. Why would he go there instead of fleeing the country? Emily wondered aloud. Whatever's in those old files must be critical, Daniel reasoned. Something worth risking capture for, Reeves called moments later. Police are en route to the data center, but it'll take time to secure the building. It's designed like a fortress. We need to get there now, Emily insisted. Victor's planning something for tonight, something involving me. It's too dangerous, Daniel objected. Let the police handle this. He mentioned suicide, Emily reminded him. Mine. Whatever he's planning is imminent. 20 minutes later, their car pulled up 2 blocks from the data center, a nondescript concrete building surrounded by a high-security fence. Police cars were already gathering at the main entrance, lights flashing but sirens silent as officers established a perimeter. Reeves met them at their observation point, handing Emily a bulletproof vest. The building has its own power supply and security system. Police are working to override it, but it'll take time. Time we don't have, Emily said, securing the vest under her jacket. Is there another way in? There's a maintenance entrance on the east side, Reeves replied reluctantly. Security is lighter there, but still substantial. Show me, Emily demanded. Daniel grabbed her arm. Emily, wait. This isn't your responsibility. Let the professionals handle Victor. He's threatened me directly, Emily countered. Said something about business news tomorrow. What if he's planning to release false information, destroy the company? We can't risk it. Before Daniel could argue further, his phone rang. Patricia Winters from the board. Hayes, are you with Emily? She asked without preamble. We have a situation. Victor just sent an email to every major business publication with what he claims is evidence that Emily fabricated her identity. He's scheduled a data dump of proof for midnight tonight from the company servers. What kind of proof? Daniel asked. Putting the call on speaker, forged documents, manipulated photographs, a completely alternate history where Emily Dawson is a longtime con artist who bribed officials and threatened witnesses. It's elaborate and damaging. If the media runs with it before we can counter. Emily's jaw set with determination. We need to stop that data transfer. At the maintenance entrance, they found 2 security guards unconscious. Victor's work. Reeves led them through a series of corridors, guided by an old blueprint of the facility. The central server room lay at the heart of the building, surrounded by layers of security that Victor had already bypassed. They found him there, surrounded by screens, fingers flying over a keyboard as he uploaded files to a remote server. A briefcase sat open beside him, filled with cash and documents. A gun lay within easy reach. It's over, Victor, Reeves called, his own weapon drawn. Police have surrounded the building. There's nowhere to go. Victor didn't even look up from his task. Right on time. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. Step away from the computer, Emily commanded. Stepping into view, now Victor did turn, a smile spreading across his face when he saw her. Emily Carter herself, or should I say Emily Dawson. Soon the world won't know which is which. Exactly as planned. The truth is already out, Emily said. The board knows everything. The police have your financial records, Grace's testimony, the receipt for the modified heater. Victor shrugged, unconcerned. Temporary setbacks. Once this data is public, it creates reasonable doubt. Enough confusion for my legal team to work with. Is that why you killed my father? Emily asked, edging closer while Reeves maintained his aim. Because he finally saw through your lies. Something dark flashed across Victor's face. Richard became a liability, started asking questions. reviewing old files. I simply helped his heart condition along. You're admitting to murder, Daniel said incredulously, recording the conversation on his phone. Call it what you want, Victor replied, turning back to the keyboard for a final command. In business, we call it risk management. As he reached for the enter key that would release his fabricated evidence to the media, Emily lunged forward, knocking his arm away from the keyboard. Victor reacted instantly, grabbing for his gun, but Reeves was faster, tackling him to the ground as police officers finally breached the server room in the chaos that followed, Victor being handcuffed. Technical specialists securing the servers, statements being taken. Emily stood quietly by the screens, looking at what Victor had been prepared to release, an elaborate fiction designed to destroy her credibility forever. We got him, Daniel said, joining her. It's really over. Emily watched as police led Victor away, his composed facade finally crumbling into rage and desperation. In his briefcase, they found not just cash and fake passports, but Richard Carter's personal journal, stolen from his office after his death. He kept trophies, Emily realized, leafing through the journal with gloved hands. My father's private thoughts, my mother's pendant, pieces of the lives he destroyed. In the final entry, dated the day before his death, Richard had written, I know the truth now, about Victor, about the fire, about what happened to my Emily. Tomorrow I confront him. God give me strength to face what comes after. Emily closed the journal gently, evidence of her father's final moments of clarity before Victor silenced him forever. Outside the data center, dawn was breaking over Chicago as police cars departed with their prisoner. For the first time in 20 years, Emily Carter could finally face the sunrise knowing that justice, long delayed, was finally being served. 3 months after Victor Langford's arrest, Emily stood at the window of the CEO's office, her office now, watching the Chicago skyline glitter in the late afternoon sun. The space had been completely transformed from Victor's imposing mahogany fortress to a bright open environment with glass walls that encouraged transparency. The only item she'd kept was the company logo, the intertwined C that had been her father's original design. The board unanimously approved your restructuring proposal, Patricia Winters announced, setting down a folder on Emily's desk. I must admit, I had my doubts when you first presented it, but the numbers are compelling. Emily turned from the window, smiling. Thank you for your support, Patricia. I know change isn't easy, especially after 20 years of doing things Victor's way. Victor's way nearly destroyed this company, Patricia replied frankly. Your father would be proud of what you're doing here. After Victor's arrest, the full extent of his crimes had come to light. Beyond the murder of Elizabeth Carter and the orchestrated disappearance of Emily, investigators discovered decades of financial manipulation, bribery of officials, and intimidation of anyone who questioned his methods. The company's reputation had taken a severe hit, and rebuilding trust, with employees, shareholders, and the public, had become Emily's primary mission. The foundation proposal is on page 4, Patricia continued. The board especially liked the emphasis on supporting foster children and families affected by domestic fires. Emily nodded, scanning the document. The Richard and Elizabeth Carter Foundation would use a significant portion of company profits to fund programs close to her heart, causes that reflected her own experience and honored her parents' memory. When do you want to make the announcement? Patricia asked. Next week at the company-wide meeting, Emily decided, along with the new parental leave policy and employee ownership program. After Patricia departed, Emily sat at her desk, reviewing the files of executives who had been complicit in Victor's schemes. Most had already been dismissed, but determining who had been actively corrupt versus merely following orders had proven challenging. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Daniel entered, carrying a legal briefcase and wearing a more casual suit than his usual courtroom attire. The prosecutors called, he said without preamble. Victor's agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder for your father's death. Emily's grip tightened on her pen. And my mother, still maintaining the fire was accidental, Daniel replied, his frustration evident. But with the receipt Chloe provided and Grace's testimony, they're confident of a conviction on first-degree murder for Elizabeth. Emily nodded, processing this information. Victor's trial was scheduled for the following month, though the financial crimes investigation would likely continue for years. "What about Helen and Chloe?" she asked. "Have they settled in London?" "According to my last update, yes. Helen's divorce filing was expedited given the circumstances. Chloe's enrolled in art school there." Daniel hesitated. "They've both expressed interest in testifying against Victor if needed." "Good," Emily said quietly. "They're victims in this too, in their own way." She rose and walked to a small table near the window, where a silver frame held the photograph of her younger self in the daisy garden, the image that had started this journey back to her true identity. "Sometimes I still expect to wake up and find this has all been a dream," she admitted, "that I'm still Emily Dawson, flight attendant, with no past and no real future." Daniel approached, standing beside her. In the months since Victor's arrest, their relationship had evolved beyond attorney and client, developing into something neither had fully defined yet, a connection forged through shared purpose and growing affection. Emily Dawson was real, he reminded her gently. She was the woman who survived, who built a life despite everything taken from her. You don't have to erase her to be Emily Carter. She smiled, appreciating his understanding. "I've been thinking about that a lot lately. How to honor both parts of who I am." Her intercom buzzed, and her assistant's voice came through. "Ms. Carter, the new department heads are assembled in the conference room." "Thank you. I'll be right there," Emily responded. To Daniel, she added, "Care to join us? We're finalizing the Textile Workers Scholarship Program." He checked his watch. "I can stay for the beginning, but I have to meet with the prosecutors at 5. The conference room was filled with the newly appointed department leaders, a diverse group of talented professionals. Many promoted from within the company's ranks based on merit rather than politics. Emily had made a point of identifying and elevating those who had been overlooked during Victor's reign. "Before we begin," Emily addressed the group, "I want to share something important. Starting next month, we're renaming the company." Surprised murmurs rippled through the room. "Carter Textiles has a proud history, but also a troubled one," Emily continued. "Our rebranding as Carter Dawson Industries represents both our heritage and our fresh start. It honors where we came from while acknowledging that we're building something new." The announcement was met with approving nods. Emily proceeded to outline the scholarship program for children of textile workers, providing educational opportunities to those who might otherwise lack access. As the meeting progressed, Emily observed the enthusiasm and engagement of her team. These people had been carefully chosen not just for their skills, but for their integrity and vision. Many had privately approached her in the weeks following Victor's arrest, sharing stories of being silenced or sidelined when they'd questioned his methods. Now they spoke freely, offering suggestions and challenging assumptions in a way that would have been unthinkable under the previous leadership. After the meeting, Emily returned to her office to find a courier had delivered a small package. Inside was a letter from Helen Langford, along with a small jewelry box. "Dear Emily, as I continue sorting through the wreckage of my marriage, I keep discovering items that rightfully belong to your family. This bracelet was among Victor's keepsakes, things he took from your father's office after his death, according to the engraving. It was a gift from your father to your mother on your birth. I hope returning it helps in some small way to heal the wounds my husband inflicted on your family. Chloe and I are gradually rebuilding our lives here in London, coming to terms with the truth about the man we thought we knew. Chloe has asked me to tell you. She's creating an art installation about identity and loss, inspired by your story. Perhaps someday you might see it. With sincere regrets and best wishes, Helen." The silver charm bracelet inside the box was delicate, with a small heart charm bearing the inscription, "To E." On Emily's arrival, 2 hearts that beat as one. "Love, R." Emily fastened it around her wrist, another piece of her past reclaimed. Later that evening, she visited the site of her childhood home. For the first time since Victor's arrest, the overgrown lot remained empty, though she'd begun discussions with architects about building something new, not a replica of what was lost, but a place that honored the past while embracing the future. As twilight settled over the property, Emily walked to the great oak tree where she had waited as a child, expecting her mother to emerge from the smoke. She placed a small bouquet of daisies at its base. "I found my way back," she whispered. "It took 20 years, but I found my way home." Her phone chimed with a message from Daniel. "Dinner at 8. I have news about the trust restoration." Emily smiled, typing back, Meet me at the boathouse instead. I have an idea I want to discuss." The idea had been forming for weeks, transforming the empty lot into a community center for children in foster care, a place of healing and hope rising from the ashes of tragedy, a way to honor her parents while acknowledging the path that had shaped her into the woman she had become. As she drove toward the lake, Emily caught her reflection in the rearview mirror. The butterfly pendant gleamed at her throat, catching the last light of day. Beside it, her mother's charm bracelet encircled her wrist, symbols of a family connection that had endured despite everything. Emily Carter was reclaiming her birthright, but she carried Emily Dawson's strength within her, the resilience forged through years of uncertainty and loneliness. Together, they formed the woman who now steered her family's legacy toward a future brighter than Victor Langford could ever have imagined. And for the first time in 20 years, that future felt not just possible, but certain. 1 year to the day after Victor Langford's arrest, sunshine bathed the newly completed Richard Carter Hope Center, where once had stood a burned mansion and then an empty lot. Now a modern building of glass and sustainable materials welcomed visitors with open arms. At its center, an atrium filled with natural light housed a garden of daisies. Elizabeth Carter's favorite flower, Emily stood at the entrance, greeting board members and community leaders who had gathered for the grand opening. She wore a simple white dress with her mother's butterfly pendant and charm bracelet, symbols of the past that had become talismans for her new beginning. "Your parents would be so proud," Patricia Winters said, embracing Emily briefly. "Richard always wanted to use the company's success to help others. You've made that vision a reality." The Hope Center represented the culmination of Emily's transformation of Carter Dawson Industries. While the company continued manufacturing textiles, it had expanded into sustainable materials and ethical production practices. Profits now funded programs for foster children, fire victims, and families rebuilding after tragedy. Daniel appeared at Emily's side, handsome in a tailored suit, his hand finding hers naturally. Their relationship had deepened over the past year, growing from shared purpose into genuine love. "The first group of children arrives tomorrow," he reminded her. 15 kids from the state system, starting their summer program. Emily nodded, emotion tightening her throat. "I've been thinking about what to tell them, how to explain why this place exists." "Tell them your story," Daniel suggested. "The truth has power." Inside the center, photographs of Richard and Elizabeth Carter hung in the main hall, alongside the company's original logo and a timeline of Carter Dawson Industries' evolution. There was no attempt to erase the darker chapters. A section dedicated to Victor's crimes and subsequent conviction served as a reminder that justice, however delayed, remained possible. Victor Langford had been sentenced to 30 years for the murder of Elizabeth Carter, with an additional 20 years for Richard Carter's death and the financial crimes that had funded his lavish lifestyle. The man who had once commanded a corporate empire now occupied a cell in a maximum security prison. "Ms. Carter," a young woman approached, professional camera hanging from her neck. "I'm Lindsay Chen from the Tribune. Would you mind if I ask a few questions for our feature?" Emily smiled. "Not at all," as they walked toward the daisy garden. Lindsay's questions were thoughtful, focused not on the sensational aspects of Victor's crimes, but on the healing and transformation that had followed. "This center seems very personal to you," Lindsay observed, "beyond just corporate philanthropy." "It is," Emily acknowledged. "I grew up in the foster system, bouncing between homes until I aged out at 18. No child should feel as alone as I did. And yet you've managed to forgive those responsible," Lindsay noted. "I understand Helen Langford contributed significantly to the center's art program." Emily nodded, glancing toward a sunny studio where Helen's donation had funded supplies and instruction for children exploring self-expression through art. "Helen and Chloe were victims too, in their own way," she explained. "They lost everything they thought was real. Their contribution here is part of their healing process. And Chloe's installation is being featured in the gallery." "Yes," Emily confirmed. "It's called Fractured Identity, exploring how the lies we're told shape who we become." The interview continued as they toured the facility. The dormitories for children in transition between homes, classrooms for tutoring and life skills, therapy spaces for healing from trauma, and recreational areas designed for joy and normalcy. One last question. Lindsay said as they completed the circuit. "After everything you've endured, what do you want people to take away from your story?" Emily considered this carefully. "That the past doesn't define us, but it does shape us. That family is something you can lose and find again in unexpected ways. And that home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's the truth of who you are." As the formal opening ceremony began, Emily took her place at the podium. Looking out at the gathered crowd, beyond the invited guests, she noticed a group of people standing slightly apart. Grace Peterson, now retired, Martin Reeves, who had helped uncover Victor's crimes, and unexpectedly, Chloe Langford, who had flown in from London specifically for the opening. "Thank you all for being here today," Emily began. "The Richard Carter Hope Center stands on the very ground where my childhood home once stood, before it was destroyed in a fire that took my mother's life and separated me from my father for 20 years. She paused, allowing the significance to settle. "This center represents more than just philanthropy or corporate responsibility. It's a testament to the belief that tragedy can be transformed into opportunity, that injustice can give way to healing, and that what was broken can be rebuilt, different, but perhaps even stronger than before." As Emily continued her speech, outlining the center's programs and vision, she felt a sense of completion that had eluded her since reclaiming her identity. The journey that had begun with a photograph on an airplane had led her through darkness and discovery to this moment of creation. After the ceremony, as guests mingled at the reception, Chloe approached Emily hesitantly. "Thank you for including my installation," she said, elegant in a simple black dress that contrasted with her mother's more elaborate style. "It means a lot to have the chance to contribute something positive after everything my father did." "Your art is powerful," Emily replied sincerely. "The children who come through here will benefit from seeing how someone can transform pain into beauty." Chloe's eyes filled with unexpected tears. "I keep thinking about how differently things might have turned out if my father had made other choices. If he had used his talents to build something real instead of stealing what belonged to your family." Emily touched the younger woman's arm gently. "We don't have to be defined by the choices our parents made." As the afternoon progressed, Emily found herself drawn to the daisy garden at the center's heart. Daniel joined her there, loosening his tie in the warm spring air. "Penny for your thoughts," he said softly. "I was thinking about the garden at our old house," Emily replied. "The one in the photograph. My mother planted those daisies because they were hardy. They could survive almost anything." Daniel smiled, taking her hand. "Like someone else I know." The garden was designed with a central bench, surrounded by concentric circles of daisies. From above, it formed a pattern like ripples on water, change emanating outward from a single point. "I have something for you," Daniel said, reaching into his pocket. "I've been waiting for the right moment." He produced a small velvet box. Inside nestled a ring with a diamond surrounded by tiny sapphires in a pattern that echoed the butterfly on Emily's pendant. "Emily Dawson Carter," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "I fell in love with you while fighting for justice, but I want to spend the rest of my life building happiness with you. Will you marry me?" Time seemed to suspend as Emily looked from the ring to Daniel's face, this man who had believed in her identity before she fully believed it herself, who had stood beside her through darkness and triumph alike. "Yes," she answered simply, joy flooding through her as he slipped the ring onto her finger. As they embraced, sunlight streamed through the atrium glass, casting their shadows among the daisies. Above them, a plaque on the wall carried the center's motto, words Emily had chosen from her father's final letter. "We bend, we adapt, but we always stand again." Later that evening, as twilight settled over Chicago, Emily and Daniel walked along the lakeshore near the boathouse. The yacht that had once been Richard's pride now belonged to Emily, though she had renamed it Second Chance in honor of her journey. "What happens next?" Daniel asked, his arm around her shoulders. Emily considered the question, looking out at the horizon where water met sky in an endless possibility of blue. The past year had been about reclaiming and rebuilding. Her identity, the company, her father's legacy. Now, with the Hope Center launched and Victor's chapter closed, she faced a future of her own design. "We live," she said simply. "We build something new together. We remember the past without being imprisoned by it." As stars began appearing in the darkening sky, Emily touched the butterfly pendant at her throat, then the engagement ring on her finger, symbols of what was lost and what was found, connected now in a story that had finally found its proper ending. Or perhaps, she thought as Daniel kissed her beneath the emerging stars, it was really just the beginning.